responsibility. He's famous for being the responsibility guy, isn't he? He's famous for being the rule keeper. He's famous for doing everything right. But actually, he failed 3 responsibilities. The first one was he should have warned the boy not to leave home in the first place. He should have had a chat with him. He should have had a word in his ear and said, be very careful how you do this. This is not a good way to live your life. The second responsibility is that he should have come and met the younger brother and been the mediator between the father and the younger brother. Does that sound familiar? You see, the first picture of the older brother is really the Old Testament. It's how to live life like this. The second illustration is the New Testament, which is the mediator between us and the Father. You see, the older brother should have been coming, but it's not the older brother. He's not coming to see him, and there in the dust and in the mirage and in the confusion and in his hunger and in his thirst. Who's coming for me? Should have been the older brother. And then he starts to see there's a group of people coming for him. But then that group is overtaken by a figure. Let me explain something to you. The first group of people that he probably saw were actually the villagers. Do you know the villagers? They were given permission to come and to shame anyone who's returning to a village who has brought shame on the village, and the younger brothers brought shame on the village. And those villagers, and I got this from a book by a guy called Kenneth E. Bailey, if you want to study this kind of stuff. He discovered that there's this ceremony in the Middle East called the Kazazar ceremony. And basically what they do is they're allowed to take this large clay pot and they take it out to somebody that's returning to a village that's brought shame on the village, and they shame that person out of the village. And those villagers had every right to do this. It's part of their culture to shame the young boy out of the village. But you see, they didn't get to the boy first. Somebody else got to the boy first. The father. The father ran past the villagers, ran past the clay pot, and got to the boy first. And he hugs the boy, and in my mind's eye, having read what Bailey talks about, I imagine those villagers, they get there, they start smashing the clay pot, but the clay pot, those shards of clay don't reach the boy because the father's hugging the boy. And it's one of the most beautiful pictures in the Bible, because the father bore our shame. And he bore the boy's shame. And he got to the boy so that the villagers couldn't shame the boy out of the village. It's an incredible picture. You see, the father didn't leave the house and say to his wife, I need to get out there quick. I need to make sure that nobody sees him come home. I need to cover him with more shame, because he's bringing shame on the family. Let's see if we can smuggle him in. Let's see if we can sneak him in. No, the father didn't do that. The father ran. He ran. And that everybody would know that the father had run to welcome his son home. And of course you know the story. You know that he put a ring on his finger, a robe on his back, and he put shoes on his feet. And he said, kill the fatted calf, let's have a party. And I'm rushing through some of these details because I want to get to one particular place today. But the symbols there are incredible. He puts the robe on his back, you're worthy. He answered every phrase of the boy's speech. Father, I'm no longer worthy. Oh no, put the robe on. Incidentally, it's the best robe. It's the robe reserved for the honoured guests of the village. It's not an old bathrobe. It's the robe for the honoured guests. You're worthy, son. He puts the robe on his back. You're worthy. He's been trying to utter this speech. Father, I'm no longer worthy. No, you're worthy. I'm no longer worthy. Make this one of your hired servants. Oh no, he puts a ring on his finger. What's the ring? It's the credit card for the business. It's the signet ring. He's saying, no, you can run the business. You can do the books again. You were good at that. He puts sandals on his feet. What are the sandals? The sandals, if you study the Jewish culture, the sandal is the symbol of sonship. It's one of the 4 cups of the Jewish wedding, is the covenant of sonship, and the symbol of it is a sandal. He's saying, you're my son. He answered everything in the speech. Father, I'm no longer worthy. There's the robe. Make me one of your hired servants. There's the ring. I'm not your son. Oh, yes, you are. It's how the father responds. It's the most incredible, extravagant, beautiful response of the father. You see, he's not trying to hide him. He's not trying to cover him up. He's not saying, hey, let's cover up the boy. Let's see if we can get him in the house. Let's not let anybody know he's home. You've got to wear some rough old clothes for a while because you really need to serve some penance, boy. You need to work up some trust. You need to do this. You need to do that. You're going to eat the scraps. No, he doesn't do any of that. He says, my son is home. Here's the robe, the ring, the sandal. And then we see the story continue to unfold, and there's a banquet going on. And the father, I don't know whether you realize this, the father broke the rules for the boy. We know that. The middle-aged, Middle Eastern man, he hitched up his robe and he ran. He shouldn't have done that. He broke the rules. But you know, he broke the rules again because somebody was missing from the banquet.
Yeah.
And the one missing from the banquet is the elder brother. And the elder brother's third responsibility that he failed is he should have been at the table serving the guests, which is where Jesus will be for all eternity, serving us the wine that he said that he would serve us. Because he said, I won't drink of this wine again until I drink it with you at the marriage supper of the Lamb. The elder brother is one of the most beautiful pictures in the Bible that we have actually reduced. The father goes out. He goes out into the field. He goes out there to the elder brother. The elder brother's moaning and complaining it's not fair. I've worked hard all these years. You haven't even killed one goat for me and my friends. He goes out there. When I was at Bonke's school and I was reading this story, I heard God say to me, you've been an elder brother. And I'm like, oh God, please don't say that. I don't want to be one of those. Now I started to realize, oh yeah, I've been that elder brother. Because there's two beautiful pictures here in this story. There's the boy who's wasted it all, who comes home. And we want to build a house where the boys and the girls can come home to, don't we?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we want to build? We want to build that kind of a house. And many of those come back, and they're the radicals, the evangelists, they're the revivalists, they're the crazy ones. Yesterday they were on drugs, and today they got a story to tell, and they start preaching, and they start seeing God show up.
That's good.
But then there's the older brothers like me, and I'm out in the field going, I've been working hard all these years, God. I've done everything. I've showed up at every church meeting I was ever meant to show up. I'm the one who showed up and stayed up. I'm the one who in the video stacked the chairs and set up and tore down the meetings. And this young kid comes home. He's tattooed on sleeves up both arms. He's got piercings that you can drive small cars through. And he shows up and he preaches once and God shows up. It's just not fair. Some of you have felt like that, I know. Because I was the responsible one doing all that kind of stuff. The father goes out to him and he whispers something in his ear. He says, hey, I've always been with you. And didn't you know that everything I have is yours?
Wow.
Everything I have is yours. Everything. He didn't say some of it. He said everything. Effectively, he said, you know, the ring, the robe, the sandal, and the party, you can have that too. I've always been with you. It's this incredible picture. Not just of relentless love, but paid in full. You see, the picture that you're painting here is this. You want to hand to the next generation everything. Everything I have is yours. And it's paid in full. Do you know he never asked the boy for the money? Do you notice that? The father didn't say, hey son, I really think you should pay some of that back. You kind of wasted that. You had it ahead of time. You should pay some back. He didn't say that. He said, here's the ring, the robe, the sandal, and let's have a party. He never said pay it back. He doesn't live like that. But here's the question I want to ask you. If you were either the boy returning or the boy in the field, how would you live after that? How would you live after experiencing that? That's the question I want to ask you today. It's the question I want to ask you for this next push that you have here. Of moving to a place that you're not paying off debt, you're not paying for a building, but you're able to give extravagantly to the world. Here's the question I want to ask you. If you've experienced the love of the Father who ran to you, who bore your shame, if you've experienced that Father, if you've seen a father who doesn't care what people think about him because his son's home, if you've experienced a father who puts a ring on your finger, a robe on your back, and sandals on your feet, how would you live? How would you live if you were that boy? If you took that journey home, that shame, that pain, that confusion, if you traveled that journey and then you'd seen not the elder brother, not the villagers, but my dad who ran for me, how would you live? How would the boy in the story live? I believe he would want to build houses like the Father's house all over the earth. I believe he would want to reproduce that experience so that everybody could have that experience. So that everyone could know that their shame has been covered. That everybody could know that they don't have to pay back for what they did wrong. But there is a Father who will run for them. That's how I believe we live. Amen. And how would we live if we're the elder brother? How would we live? Would we carry on living and moaning and complaining and saying, oh, hey, I'm the one who always stays up and shows up, but nobody pays me any attention. I'm not the flash guy on the stage who's seeing the thousands saved. I'm not the guy who's seeing the signs, wonders, and miracles. And yet, you've just heard the Father say, everything I have is yours.
Good word, Paul.
And on this journey of